Masato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amrutangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from ignorance to illumination. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto all. We have been discussing spiritual progress. Many of us have heard the name of Emerson, the most wonderful preacher, American preacher. One day, he was trying to take a calf into the cowshed, and he was pulling very hard, but the calf didn't want to go inside. He was pulling forward, and the calf planted its 4 feet firmly on the ground and was resisting. This struggle was going on for some time. Then a maid servant came there, said, Mr. Emerson, just give me the rope. I will take the calf inside. She took a little bit of hay, green grass in front of the calf, and there was no need to pull it. The calf willingly followed her into the cowshed. This great man, Emerson was a very great man. He said, I had learned 2 lessons from this incident, that every person that I meet is superior to me in some respect. I can learn a lesson from everyone. The second lesson that I learned was that unless we create a want even in an animal, it will not obey. This is the truth that we have to learn through moral life. Every religion insists that one must become moral. Unless one progresses in moral life, there can be no talk of spiritual life at all. So what does moral life imply? Can we not bypass it? All of us are wanting to bypass this moral life. Perhaps I had mentioned an incident. When my predecessor Swami was in Shillong, this happened. He was a man who used to talk always on moral perfection. In fact, some of our devotees complain, Swami, you are always talking about moral life. When are you going to talk about spiritual life? He said, first try to learn how to be moral, then only you can be spiritual really. One day he was talking to a military colonel, and this colonel said, Swami, I read Gita, and it is said in the Gita that whatever last thought a man has just before death, he will die with that thought and he will assume next birth. Supposing I think of God just before death and pass away, then I will surely attain God. Swami asked, how do you propose to do that? It's very simple. Whole life I want to enjoy, drink, dance and do everything. Last moment I will put a gun to my temple and thinking of Rama Rama, I will pull the trigger. Swami said, if you could really do that, that would be great. But supposing you are thinking whether this fellow will only half blow my brains. And naturally, supposing after pulling you are still alive, then what an amount of suffering. These thoughts, suppose they come to you, what will you do then? It's not easy. We are all wanting to be shortcuts for everything. Quick, fast, instantaneous samadhi. Unfortunately, there is no instantaneous samadhi. There was an American instantaneous, I remember, one man from India, first time went to America. wanted to stay in a hotel. The taxi driver left him at a hotel. As soon as the man stood in front of the hotel, the doors opened wide. There was nobody. And a robo had come, took his and greeted him. Hello, we are so glad to see you. Please come inside. Took the bag and baggage from his hands and then took him inside. There was only one man sitting, the manager of the hotel. Manager welcomed him, gave him a room and said, before going, do you have anything to ask me? Man said, I have not eaten for a long time. I would like to have a cup of coffee. He said, no problem. We have got automatic machines. Go and have. So the man went near a machine, put the coin inside. Immediately the menu has come. Do you want black coffee or white coffee? Wanted pure white coffee. With sugar, without sugar. With sugar. Brown sugar or white sugar? How many spoons? So all this questionnaire has come, and he just pressed the button and wait. And pressed the button, waited, and then some noise was made, but no coffee came out. Man tried second time, same thing happened. Third time, same thing happened. Then he went to the manager and asked him, what is this, I don't get coffee? He said, sir, we have automated everything. The machine drinks the coffee for you. We want in spiritual life everything automated. Like Sadguru, a guru, I just go there and tell my want and he will give me initiation and thereafter he will look after me till I reach God. Everything should be fast, automatic, and I will go on leading my own life. This will not do, because we cannot experience peace of mind unless we strive ourselves. So moral life is a very important thing. What happens when a person leads a moral life? Two things happen. First, the mind will be controlled. And secondly, the desire for God realization arises in such a mind. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, without yearning for God realization, spiritual life is an impossible thing. Swami Vivekananda has put it in a most beautiful way. He says, the chief thing is to want God. We want everything except God because our ordinary wants are supplied by the external world. It is only when our necessities have gone beyond the external world that we want a supply from the internal, from God. Having done with this child's play of the world as soon as you can, and then you will feel the necessity of something beyond the world, and the first step in religion will come. We have discussed what is spiritual life, what is the meaning of spiritual goal, and how do we start them. Every religion, every system of yoga has put these things in its own way. Briefly, one of the most wonderful Advaitic scriptures, Yoga Vasishta, says there are 7 planes of spiritual journey, of which the 7th is the ultimate. If we are talking about yoga, there are 8 steps with which you are very familiar: yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana and samadhi. Everybody questions, I don't have concentration of mind. Where is the capacity in your mind to withdraw it from the external objects? Pratyahara means withdrawing the mind from external objects. Then comes the practice of dharana, the ability to fix the mind on a particular object for a specified length of time. You know what the yoga says? We are all talking about meditation. The yoga defines meditation as the ability to concentrate on any object for 12 seconds. 12 seconds, if we are able to concentrate without the least distraction, with 100% concentration, that is called meditation. 12 such meditations is called samadhi, 144 seconds only. And people say, I can concentrate for hours together. What is happening? Where is all that going? When somebody asked Swami Dayatmananda, what is the difference between deep sleep and samadhi? Because they apparently look alike. Swamiji said, if a fool goes into deep sleep, when he wakes up, he is still the same fool. But if a fool goes into samadhi, when he comes out, he is an illumined sage. Now these people say, we are practicing concentration for 1.5 hours, no problem, Swamiji, tell me how to concentrate further. If this man really has concentration for 1.5 hours, then he should have been a sage, but instead he is the same old stupid fool, if not worse. Christianity talks of purgation, illumination and unification. The Advaita, the path of knowledge, says that one must be equipped with discrimination, dispassion, control of the body and mind, and intense longing for liberation. The Tantra speaks of 7 chakras. Nowadays people are very familiar with these chakras. Did I tell you? We have a center in Amsterdam, and one man has written, Swami, I have been practicing yoga for a long time. I have no problem controlling the Sahasrara chakra, but I have great problem controlling my Mooladhara chakra. The Bhakti Yoga speaks the 9 steps of a ladder. Shravana, hearing about God. Kirtana, singing the names and glories of God. Smarana, remembering God. Padasevana, serving the great souls. Archana, worshipping the Lord. Vandana, bowing down to the Lord. Dasyam, considering oneself as the servant of God. Sakhyam, considering God as a friend. Atmanivedana, and offering of one's complete self at the lotus feet of the Lord. This is what Prahlada was teaching to his fellow students. You will get it in Bhagavatam, probably in the 7th skandha. Prahlada, as a young boy, was teaching to his classmates how to attain devotion to God through these 9 steps. Ramanuja says there are 7 steps. Discrimination, viveka. Vimokha is withdrawing the mind from all pleasurable objects. Abhyasa, a repeated practice, again and again and again practice. Kalyana, dedicating oneself for the good and welfare of other people. Kriya, intense japa and meditation, remembering God's name. Anavasada, never feeling for a second frustrated, depressed, even if one doesn't progress in spiritual life. Anudharsha, one should not be unduly excited by happy events. These are the 7 steps. Buddhism speaks of the 8-fold way. Very wonderful. It is very near to this yoga steps. Buddha says, at first, a man must realize this world is not a good place to live in. Second, he must find the root cause of the misery. Third, he must try very sincerely, determine and try to get rid of this misery. Fourth is a practical step. There are 8 steps. What are these 8 steps? Right understanding about life, about the goal, about one's capacity. Right intention. It is not enough to understand. It is very necessary to determine and say, yes, I want this. Right want, right speech, right conduct, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Sri Ramakrishna has 5 commandments. You know that. singing the names and glories of God, keeping the company of holy, now and then going into solitude and calling on God in an intense manner, constantly discriminating between the temporariness of this world and the reality only of God, and living like a maidservant in a rich man's house. These are the 5 commandments of Sri Ramakrishna. Gita speaks of progress in 4 steps. Karma, the law of action; dharma, the law to live in harmony with the entire universe; nishkama karma, performing every action without desiring any results, without the least motivation; and finally mukti, or liberation. All these methods fall into one or the other of the well-known 4 yogas. If you squeeze, so many religions, so many teachers are speaking of so many different steps. Are they really speaking of different steps? No. They are speaking the same thing but putting in different language, different words. There are 4 main paths, whichever religion we may take: the Bhakti Yoga, the Karma Yoga, the Jnana Yoga, and the Raja Yoga. And what Swami Vivekananda had advocated is a harmonious development through all these 4 yogas. The light of man's consciousness is focused on outer objects. Most of the time, our mind is focused on outside objects, including God. Where is the God? He is there, up above the clouds, or in Banaras. It's a beautiful song, I think of Kabir, probably have heard. Moko kahan dhundo, mai to tere paas mein hu. Fool, where are you searching for me? I am just very near to you. And he is not in Kashi, he is not in Mecca, he is not in Kaaba, he is just nearest to you, next to you. But we don't have the capacity to see him. We think further a person, more godly he is, isn't it? Many people, they try to feel these Kosovo refugees. Oh, how much they are suffering. But what about the people near us? How much of pain we are causing to them through our words, through our thoughts, through our conduct and behavior? We don't stop to think about it. All our compassion goes only to those people whom we don't see. Start living with them. The best way to develop love for our own people is to go away from them. The light of man's consciousness is focused on outer objects. Hence, he doesn't see the inner self. But a few heroic souls turn their attention inwards and realize it the self within. The secret of this success, according to Swami Vivekananda, is to pay as much attention to the means as to the end. And with the means all right, the end must come. Swami Vivekananda, he has met a great yogi. His name was Pavahari Baba. Somehow, some devotees of Pavahari Baba, and he was a contemporary of Sri Ramakrishna, met Sri Ramakrishna. One day the conversation was going on with Sri Ramakrishna at Dakshineshwar. Sir, we went to see Pavahari Baba. And do you know what we found there? He keeps one of your photographs. And Sri Ramakrishna smiled and said, just a pillowcase. A body is a pillowcase. That was his remark. So this Pavahari Baba was a great yogi. He was a Raja Yogi. He was a tremendous scholar. He had lots of powers also, yoga powers, yoga siddhis he had. Swami Vivekananda met him while he was wandering in the North India, heard about him, went and met him, was so much impressed, he wanted to take initiation from Pavahari Baba. Sri Ramakrishna, I think, got jealous of him and prevented him. He had a vision, looked very dolefully at Swami Vivekananda. As a result, he couldn't take initiation from Pavahari Baba. I'm only joking. Now, this Pavahari Baba had several talks with Swami Vivekananda. later on, Swami Vivekananda remembered two things. Very often he used to repeat what he learned from Prabhupada Baba. The first thing was, Guru ka dwar mein kutta ka mafik pade raho. Lie down, keep on lying down at the doorsteps of one's Guru, your Guru, like a dog. That was the first thing he used to repeat often. Second thing, this was the thing what I read just now, to pay as much attention to the means as to the end. End means goal. We are always thinking about the goal or about the result. I am sitting for meditation. Why am I not getting peace? Always we are thinking about the peace. But have you paid attention that where your mind is going? Have you just observed where it is running all the time? We don't pay attention to it. We only are seeking our own ends. That's why spiritual life becomes a dreamy world, as I mentioned last time. Many devotees have erroneous opinion about spiritual life, and especially of monks and nuns. You people come here and sit, Swami, you are so fortunate. What a beautiful place. It is heaven on earth. Nobody is there to disturb you. There is no husband, there is no wife, there are no children. And you have got, by Sri Ramakrishna's grace, your food is secure, your housing is secured, you are very comfortable, warm, you don't need to drive out. If some devotee wants the Swami, the devotee has to come here and take the Swami. He doesn't drive. How wonderful it is. Then, monks who live here, they are living in a worse state than the householder devotees, worse condition than the people that are living outside in the world. The householders are sometimes in a much, much better position because they have to struggle so hard, especially these days. How many mental conflicts? There is no harmony. Family problems, problems in the office, problems in the society, problems everywhere. Always ego clashes. These days the ego clashes are terrible. We people living here, it looks as though we have no ego clashes. It looks like that because we never come into contact with the other people. It's not because we don't have egos, it is because there is no opportunity for these egos, not at least too much opportunity. When we have to struggle, go out and struggle, then we understand what is really our state of mind. Householders often have to sacrifice a lot of their time and their energy and their money willy-nilly, even if they don't want, they have to sacrifice. And there are children, a mother cannot sleep properly, you know that? Yesterday one devotee came here with a first baby, 4-month-old baby. I asked her, what is it that you desire? She said, Swami, if only I can sleep. I want to sleep for many days. The baby gets up every night 3-4 times and she has to feed and then look after. It is not easy. How much our mothers really sacrifice their life for our sake, often we don't understand. Mothers understand that. Often these men do not understand it. And we have to share whatever is there, we have to share with them, whether we like it or not. See, we are human beings. If we are alone, we don't feel like sharing it with anybody. But if there are children, we have got to share. If relatives come, we have got to share. The best portion of it, we have to give it to them. So many good lessons we have to learn if we are outside. But monasteries create, especially affluent monasteries, create a very cozy atmosphere. We get up in the morning and go to the shrine and sit and meditate, come out, breakfast is ready, we eat, do a little bit of work and go to sleep again in the noon, get up and have a cup of tea or coffee, then do a little bit of work or a talk, and then go again in the evening and meditate, then come back and eat supper. Whole life goes in a very cozy, mechanical manner. How do we know that we are progressing in spiritual life? What is the test? True spiritual aspirants are always tested by God. But we are not tested very much. Not too much at least. Not beyond our capacity. So, it creates a Don Quixote world. You know about Don Quixote story? All imaginary force, imaginary friends, imaginary actions, everything is imaginary. So spiritual life is not that easy. How much of our attention we can pay to whatever we are doing? Buddhists have a wonderful way, vipassana they call it. The meditation of insight meditation, vipassana. What does it mean? It means go on observing the breath every second. Go on, then they call it walking meditation. What is walking meditation? It is a small strip of distance. You start. Every second you must be aware what you are doing. Now my right foot is being lifted off the ground and again it's slowly being kept. So you should not think of only lifting time and putting it down. In between how much it has risen and again how it is coming down slowly. Every step you must be aware what you are doing. Then watch the thoughts. What type of thoughts are passing through the mind? This is called vipassana. So this awareness, constant awareness of what is happening in our life, this is the beginning of spiritual life. Then only we can catch hold of the subtle thoughts which are there. Then only we have the capacity to control them. So, pay as much attention to the means as to the end, and with the means all right, the end must come. So the whole purpose of these moral practices is to make us aware of what we are doing, how we are living, how we can make our body and mind in harmony with what Vedanta calls the universal harmony, or in harmony with God, harmony with Rita. The whole universe is not a chaotic thing, it is God manifest. Everything is working in great harmony. We create disharmony, and the result of disharmony is dukkha or suffering. This is what we are going to discuss a little bit now. Patanjali, the great yogic teacher, he delineates the 8 steps. It is called Ashtanga Yoga. The beginning is Yama, and Yama consists of 5 things. The first thing is Ahimsa, non-injury. The second thing is Satya, to be as truthful as possible. Then Asteya means non-stealing. Then Brahmacharya, control over one's sense organs. And then Aparigraha, non-acceptance of things from outside, from anybody. What is the purpose of this particular rule? Why does this yoga teacher insist so much upon it? The first thing he says is Ahimsa. Himsa means injury. Any type of giving pain to anyone is called Himsa. And Swami Vivekananda defined Ahimsa, non-injury, as the absence of jealousy. The subtlest form of Himsa, injury to other people, comes in the form of jealousy. That is the last thing. We know non-injury. We should not kill. We should not utter a harsh word. We should not do anything that causes pain to other people. We should, on the contrary, try to make everybody happy. We have to understand this very clearly. Is it possible to live in this world without causing injury to anyone? People are people, Jains, they put a cloth over their mouth. They don't take bath lest some bacteria might be killed off. They don't drink water as often they should. They don't wash their mouths. They will be stinking, as Swami Vivekananda says. All sorts of weird practices they have taken. What is the meaning of ahimsa really? Why should not we injure other people? It's impossible to live in this world making everyone happy. Even if, supposing, two candidates apply for a job and only one can get the job, is it not injuring the other man? In a way, that man feels disappointed, he feels pained, but what can you do about it? So what is the meaning of ahimsa? Ahimsa is intentionally one should never cause any harm to other people. And secondly, ahimsa means that one should not even cause injury to one's own self. Everybody understands injuring other people, causing pain to other people. But do we understand how much of pain we are causing to our own selves? Ahimsa in Vedantic terms is called, it is the highest virtue. Why is it called the highest virtue? Because it's truly followed, truly understood and truly practiced, it leads one to God. So what is ahimsa here? Realize God, not to understand my true nature, not to follow that way which leads to my highest happiness, is the greatest injury one can inflict upon oneself. This is called Atma Aparadha. Aparadha means crime. Atma Aparadha, sin against oneself. This is a wonderful concept. Those who do not follow a spiritual life, they are labeled by one of the Upanishads Atmahanaha, those who kill themselves. The highest injury is done for oneself by not realizing, by not taking to spiritual life. This is what we are going to discuss. Every person has in him or her a life principle trying to express itself in myriad ways. However worst a person is, there is something within each one of us which is trying to express. Even a Hitler, even a Ravanasura, why does he do what he did? Because he thinks that he is doing bringing great happiness to himself. There is something within which wants to be happy, which wants to express. The expression may be wrong, but the attempt itself is coming from deep within himself. The Upanishadic sages call this life principle the Atman, the true self. It is the center of consciousness in man. The body and mind appear to be conscious only because of their association with the Atman. It is through the self that we know, that we think, that we speak, that we do. The self reveals itself through every experience. Whatever we do, you are sitting here. What are you doing? You are listening. Who is listening? I am listening. I am seeing. I am sitting. I. What is that I? Is the body trying to sit? Is the mind trying to sit? It is the expression of I through the instrumentality of the body and mind. It is through the self that we do everything. The self reveals itself through every experience. But what is the goal of this experience? The ultimate purpose of all experiences is to know the knower, to realize the knower. Consciously or unconsciously, all beings are struggling for self-realization. Swami Brahmananda once said this, that life is guiding everyone to God, whether they know it or not. Even an animal. Evolution is nothing but taking the lower animals to God through higher bodies, higher minds. Every life is sacred. We should not cause any injury to others. Why? Because every life is sacred. Because of the divine center within, a person has no right to take another's life, not even his own. You know what is the greatest sin according to Vedanta? Atmahatya, killing oneself, suicide. It's not for nowadays. There is a great deal of discussion about what we call euthanasia. voluntarily taking one's own life under extreme circumstances. Have we got a right? You see, nowadays students are given these questions. In religious studies, we get a lot of inquiries that what does Hinduism say about it? We say that no one has a right to take one's life. What is the idea behind taking one's life? Oh, I am suffering a great deal and there is no hope of overcoming this problem, so better let all the life support machines go away. Hindus don't believe that just because this body dies, the person is free from suffering. Next birth is waiting for you, maybe with greater suffering. That's why Atmahatya, or self-killing, is considered as the greatest sin. The greatest sin. Next to ignorance about the self, this is the greatest sin one can commit. Should anyone attempt to commit suicide, he would be arrested by the police, because he did not create his life, nor anybody else's. I remember an incident in Buddha's life, One day, Buddha was sitting under a tree, and there was a famous, notorious robber called Angulimala. Have you heard about him? Anguli means fingers. Mala means garland. He had a garland of fingers around his neck. All those fellows he used to chop off, he used to take what is called mementos, one finger, and make a garland out of it to indicate how many people he had killed. So he saw Lord Buddha sitting under a tree. He wanted to chop him off, just for the pleasure of it. Buddha said, wait a little, before you kill me, can you cut a branch of this tree? The man said, it is no problem. He cut off the branch. And Buddha has now put it back as it was. The man said, how can I do it? I can't do it. Buddha said, look, it is so easy to destroy something. It is so difficult to give life. That moment, illumination came to that man. Not final illumination, but conversion came. He became a disciple of Lord Buddha. Of course, don't try it. The result will not be so good. Only Buddha could try it. Man did not create his life, nor anybody else's. Therefore, his life is not his. It belongs to the universal self. All life belongs to God. Every creature is only an expression of God. That's why injuring anybody is one of the greatest sins. The whole of Indian ethics is centered on this doctrine of the potential divinity of the human soul. So the question may come, why should not I injure? This is the answer. Man as he is may not be divine. Swami Vivekananda used to say very often, every soul is potentially divine. Are we divine? Yes or no? Yes, in the ultimate sense. No, as we are now. Man as he is may not be divine, but he holds in himself the potentiality to attain divinity. The purpose of ethical and religious life is to enable him to actualize, to unfold, to manifest this potentiality. That's why Swami Vivekananda has defined religion as the manifestation of divinity already in man. Religion means a way of life that favors self or God realization. This is the most wonderful definition. What is religion? That which favors, that which helps us to realize our true nature or God. That is religion. Hinduism, Buddhism, Christian, these are all labels. Even a person who is not having any particular label, maybe he may be the greatest spiritual man, who knows. It is the divine self within that gives dignity to the individual and sacredness to life. These days there is so much of cry about dignity. Every individual is unique. Every individual must be respected. Where is that dignity? If you observe the actions of ordinary man, is worse than an animal. There was this drunkard. One day he drank more than usual and went and fell down into a ditch and lying there. And a pig came and sat by him. And a woman was passing that on the road, she saw, and in disgust remarked, "A man is known by the company he keeps." Slowly the pig got up and went away to some other place. Every person is to be treated with respect because he is potentially divine. I was remembering an incident in a Zen master's life. There was a great famous Zen master, I forget his names, Chinese names, like Sanskrit names are unpronounceable, not easily remembered. This man became a great teacher. So he never used to sleep daytime, and night also very few hours. But his disciples, as usual, used to sleep day and night. So one day he scolded somebody, and the disciple, he said, "Sir, what is the secret of your wakefulness?" And he said, "You know, when I was serving my guru, rarely I used to sleep. One day my teacher went out on some work. That day I was so tired that I was lying, I just fell down across the doorway and was deeply asleep. But my teacher returned, and he had to cross his disciple's body if he had to enter into the room. And he was, with great caution, he was saying, 'Please excuse me, please excuse me, I should not have done it, but please excuse me.' And the disciple heard with what respect the teacher is looking down upon this stupid disciple who was deeply asleep. He said, 'From that day I decided not to sleep daytime.' That moment, a great change had taken place in his mind. You see, it is not that if a man is sitting down whole day like an owl, that he is a spiritual man. Not that. The way the teacher was treating his own ignorant disciple. The disciple was supposed to be asleep. He was not supposed to hear what the teacher was telling. But the way he was doing that. Sri Ramakrishna used to worship his disciples. You know that? The first disciple he worshipped was, of course, Holy Mother. Every disciple he used to treat with the greatest respect, especially Narendranath. Sri Ramakrishna never allowed him to massage his feet, to bring a glass of water for him, even though Narendra was too eager to do it, because Sri Ramakrishna was seeing in the disciple the potential greatness. On the other hand, he used to praise Narendra in front of everybody. He used to praise every one of his disciples. You know that incident when one of his disciples wanted to distribute some ochre cloths to some monks. Sri Ramakrishna said, "Where else will you get better spiritual persons than these? Distribute." At that time, these were young men. Nobody appeared to be holy at that time. But Sri Ramakrishna saw that greatness, that holiness. That's why he used to treat them with the greatest love, with the greatest respect. We only see Sri Ramakrishna scolding people. We don't see how much he used to respect Holy Mother. You know, when Brahmachari joined at Jairambati and he was serving Holy Mother, there used to be many women with Holy Mother, naturally. One day a woman devotee, very old woman devotee, and so well known among the Ramakrishna circle, she was passing by, and the edge of her sari touched the Brahmachari's body. Holy Mother observed and said, "Make pranams to the Brahmachari. That's not the way to treat a Brahmachari." The Brahmachari felt embarrassed and said, "Mother, she is like my grandmother. What does it matter if her cloth touches me?" Mother says, "No, my child, you are all divine. You are divine children. You are not ordinary children, because this man has become a Brahmachari in the hope of becoming a monk." How Holy Mother used to respect. Even animals he used to respect. You know that? One day one Brahmachari was caressing a cat with his foot. He said, "No, my son, don't ever do that, because God himself resides in the head of every animal. You should not touch with the foot." Every insect, every animal, not to speak of human beings, is to be worthy of the greatest respect. But artificially, if you try to do it, it won't be right. It has to come from within. That's why moral perfection is so necessary. It is the divine self that gives dignity to the human soul. Everything that helps spiritual unfolding is religion, dharma. Dharma, the word dharma, Sanskrit, you have heard about it. Dharma means that which helps us go towards God, that which helps us in manifesting our potential divinity. It is not the act, it is the effect we have to see. That's why there is a great discussion about what is morality. Is it an action or is it something in the mind? How does one know one is right? Sri Krishna gives a beautiful answer to that. He advises categorically to Arjuna, who wanted to practice dharma, and for him dharma means withdrawing from killing other people in the war, taking part in the battle. He says that is not dharma, that is adharma. You must go and kill the people, but don't ever think you are killing stupid, ignorant people. They are not your enemies. You have to think of them as manifestations of God, but you have to do your duty for the betterment of yourself and other people. Dharma has a vast connotation. So it doesn't depend upon doing a particular thing, how one does it. That's what makes the difference. Everything that obstructs is irreligion or adharma. What happens if a person follows adharma? How do we know that we are doing adharma? We are not doing right thing. We are not following dharma. How do we know? There is a beautiful verse. Hitopadesha. Have you heard about Hitopadesha? It's a children's book. Like Panchatantra and Hitopadesha, like Aesop's Fables, are two books which were vastly enjoyable. It says, Roga, Shoka, Paritapa, Bandhana, Vyasananicha, Atma Aparadha Vrikshana, Falanyetani Dehina. What a marvelous spiritual truth the man is telling through this children's book. He says, disease, sorrow, suffering, bondage, alienation. All these are the fruits of the tree of Atma Paradha, or sin against oneself, reaped by embodied souls, by us. If we are having disease, sorrow, or suffering, or bondage, we have got so many types of bondages. Maybe we are married to unsuitable partners. Maybe our children are the greatest rogues in the world. Maybe we are being oppressed in an office. We would like to have a better job, or we think a better job. Or nobody likes us. All these types of results come not as a result of somebody else doing something to us, so we can't blame anyone, we have to blame ourselves. We are reaping these fruits because we have sowed these seeds. It looks like an extreme type of philosophy. What is this? You think if a child is born physically disabled or mentally defective, we don't see any cause what this person, individual has done. That's why Hindus believe they are not something that happened by accident. There is nothing called an accident in this life. Vedanta doesn't believe in an accident. What we don't know, we call it an accident. And what scientists don't know, they call it genes. These are simple truth. Accidents and genes and Maya, these are euphemistic words to say that we do not know. Simply to say I do not know would have been a better thing. We are reaping the results of what we have done. We have done papa, sin. What is sin? According to Judo-Christian tradition, sin is disobedience of God's commandments. Probably some of you don't know about it. How this theory of sin has come. Every man is a born sinner. But these Adam and Eve were there, very happy, and God said to them that you eat everything in this place, but don't touch the fruits of this particular tree. Now you see, this foolish god or Maya. He should have said, you do what you like, then probably they won't have eaten. But specifically he said, don't touch. And the curiosity, why should not I eat? What happens if I eat? So these people first thing, as soon as God left them, and probably he was watching from behind, this is what I want them to do, they went and ate. This disobedience to God's commandments is called a sin. But according to Vedanta, that God has nothing to do. God doesn't command us and to say that you do this, you do that. And what is the role of God? Is called Vidhata, Karma Phala Vidhata. He is the dispenser, supervisor of distributing the fruits according to each one's actions. He is only a supervisor. Then who is bringing all this? That's where the concept of Rita comes. The whole universe is a harmonious one. And Dharma is to be in harmony with this universe. Adharma is to be disharmonious. What the English word sin is equivalent word in Vedanta is adharma. It is not living in harmony with this Rita concept of harmony. That is what is called adharma. And the result is this disease, sorrow, suffering, bondage, alienation and all these things. So these are the things how to live in harmony with our body, with our mind, then everything will be all right. How to do that? That's why this concept of yama came, or moral perfection, that if we follow these hints given by this great teacher Patanjali, yama and niyama, first get rid of bad habits or disharmonious habits, then develop harmonious habits, be in harmony with the Rita or Dharma. Then only spiritual life will start. So himsa, we are discussing about himsa, injury means that which causes us to be in disharmony with anything, with people, with insects, with environment, with our own body, with our own mind, that is called adharma. And unless we follow dharma, the mind will not become clear. Unless the mind becomes clear, the reflection of the self cannot be had. And unless we have the reflection of the self, we cannot have the desire to realize God. Chitta Shuddhi, purification of the heart, is meant for obtaining a reflection of the higher self. Faith, we call it in other words. Faith will not come unless our heart is purified. That's why we have to practice all these things. We will discuss these things further in our next class. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.